Welcome everybody to the Rec Advisory Board meeting. Today is July 20th, 2023. It's 5:32 p.m. Looks like we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and move to the approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look it over? Okay. I have a couple notes that I'll make. I know I didn't get the April minutes out.
I sent them today.
Did you?
Because I saw they didn't come through, so I sent them.
Thank you. I know they came through last month, so probably everybody looked at them. The June ones have not. I haven't finished them, so I'll plan for August. I don't feel that it's so pressing, and also the other thing is two of the members that were there aren't here now, so. Okay, and then one other thing. Well, actually, I don't really have any changes per se, but if anybody else has anything they want to add or mention. Okay. All right, well, if everybody feels good and someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda, we can move forward with that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Great. Let it be known. Agenda has been approved. Next up, the minutes, April 20th, 23 meeting. I know I'm okay if we want to go ahead and make a motion to address that and approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and second.
Thanks for that, man.
Yeah, thank you for sending that out
no
again.
problem.
And for your thoroughness on there. It's very good. That I only hope to do half as well. All right, great. So, couple things. So, with that said, we can move on to part number 4, new business. For those of you that weren't here the last meeting, we inserted a community member insights into the agenda, just because one of the best things I feel like I'm able to do on this board is to hear what people have to say in the community. And so this is a good time for us to just bring up anything that people may have said to you or even that you noticed. Get that feedback rolling, because a lot of times, and I've been in that situation before. I don't know where to direct the feedback, and so I feel like we're a good way to facilitate that. So under community member insights, I like to look forward to seeing that in the future. If you guys all,
I think that's great.
yeah, I feel like it's a good way to get us all involved too, especially if you're a newer member. I know how that goes. Like, I was reluctant to say much, and this is a good way. And a lot of times when in my just being on this board, when people find out I'm on the board, they're like, oh, I've been wanting to talk about such and such, and that's great. And so I always look forward to listening and doing my best to put it out there. So
I think it's also a great way to put on the record constructive but positive feedback too, because so often people are quick to share their criticisms, and then the good things sometimes get buried when there is a lot of good things happening and going on. So I think it's great that that's going to be part of our discussion.
awesome. Okay, well, with that said, Megan, if you'd like to start. I know you...
Sure. Yeah, this was also I wasn't here for the meeting to decide to put this on, but that was my suggestion for the minutes for the agenda for this week, because I've been getting a lot of particularly pool-related feedback, as I am at the pool quite a lot. And like Daniel said, when people learn that I'm on the board, they're like, oh, well, let me tell you this. So let's start with some positive stuff. Is the splash pad. Everybody loves the new surface, and the free morning hours we are among some of the few places that are open that early for little kids. I've actually had some, like, could it be 9? Could it be 8:30? Little kids wake up early.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's
Obnoxiously
hot
early,
now.
so and it's
Yeah.
getting hot early now. So that's all just been fully positive
Good.
about that. I'm gonna try to do all of our positive.
I'm glad because the Surface has its own challenges from the technical operating side, but I'm like, it's worth it if the kids are.
My own kids have fallen down on it several times,
Yeah.
but that's just positive feedback all around. Really positive feedback on the new concessions as
Awesome.
well. So
Oh, great.
both the new items and the fact that we've switched from plastic.
Awesome.
Everyone really
Yeah.
seems to enjoy that.
And the spills aren't as big of a problem as we were worried about for the canned drinks, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just in general, several folks have told me that both the lifeguard and everyone's just kind of a good, a kinder,
Great.
Kinder, more understanding staff than in the past is the direct quote that I got. But I've also just had some positive feedback from other folks that they have enjoyed all of their interactions with the lifeguards, with the folks working the front desk,
Great.
and that.
Thank
so,
you.
so those are all the kind of positive ones that I've gotten. A couple of suggestions. Could we get clocks visible from the top pool or the splash pad? Because right now I think there's just the one
Yeah.
next to the lab lane pools there. So clocks. Let's see the suggestion. A better way to coordinate, and this is maybe kind of a specific suggestion, but a better way to coordinate between the cashiers and the guards regarding folks who have come in for lap swim or for like to watch their kids with lessons, but then they're staying on to let them know whether they have to pay more because they've just paid for lap swim, or whether they're a year-long member or they've done a punch.
Gotcha.
Some kind of coordination between that. And I can also send my list out here to every. I should have done that earlier. Oh, and is there a different / better way than Facebook to update about last minute pool closures?
No, yeah, I don't. We have tried, and it just as Facebook is the only way that we can blast out kind of immediately any of our social media accounts. And there's an Athens City Pool account that is not ours, and we have tried in painstakingly many times and hours trying to figure out how to get Facebook to take it down. How do we merge it? How do we take it over? So that we become, instead of it just being from the Athens Community Center, being Athens City Pool. We do not have a solution yet. We've tried. This is the second season that I've been here that we've been trying. We tried before the season started. So
Is there a separate
so
from
no.
Facebook, like a I know like the
With
city
the
uses.
radio, does the
Yeah.
radio, would they make the announcements like they do for snow days? and
I
things
do
like
not
that?
know. I do not know.
Or like a text. I know
Yeah.
like the city uses Nixle to send stuff
Oh,
out, but
yeah.
I don't know if everyone wants like
Yeah.
a Nixle alert every time.
Yeah, I
the
don't
lab
know. I don't
pools
know
are
about that one.
closed. So,
I can look into that though.
and I think that particular bit of feedback is coming from folks who don't. It's not that they don't
Right.
like Facebook; they just don't have a Facebook.
Yeah.
And if that's the only way to interface with
Yeah,
with us, it's tough for them.
for sure. I get that.
And this is one I think I mentioned to Catherine just in passing. A question I've gotten quite a bit is why the leisure pool is so cold. And while I know why the pool is cold, just if there was maybe a way that we could maybe social media posts about like, here's how the pool works. You know, like, I don't know, like like take someone into the like mech room and be like, here's how the pool has to work. Here's why it's cold. Here's how chemicals work in the pool. Here's some transparency there, because that is one that I've just gotten kind of over and over again about why it's cold. I'm like, it's not so cold once you get in, but
74, 76 is pretty good.
it's chilly, but it feels really good on
It's
a day
90
like
outside.
today.
It would feel good
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, it would feel
It's cold in June. Yes, hands down.
so,
Yeah. It's a smaller body of water, so it doesn't hold and sit like the lap pool does. That water, so
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, overall, most of what I've gotten is just that everyone's really enjoying the pool.
That's great.
This year.
That's great. I've heard that too. Thank you.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I see your staff walking all the campers up to the park several days a week in the morning. And they all seem so the kids seem so engaged and excited because I know they're coming because the dogs let me know. But I can hear them from if I'm outside, I can hear the kids, all their conversations from the yard, and it's quite entertaining.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
they're enjoying themselves for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely second what you said, the feedback about the lifeguards too. Just want to say I've noticed a increase each last couple of years, just better and better. So
Thank you. You have a good group.
couple other under the community member insights. Had one about the Columbus Road bicycle lane was just kind of had a lot of debris in it, so they didn't feel safe riding in the bike lane, which is then problematic because motorists can often get irritated especially if you have a bike lane to ride in. But they don't see the rocks, whatever. So, and that's on the section. It was by the top of the hill there. So Columbus Road, when it I guess officially becomes Columbus Road at the light and starts going down the hill, like that section in front of the fire station.
Okay.
Right there.
I can communicate that to the streets.
Yeah, probably just needs a street sweeping. And I've heard that before about Richland, but that seemed to be pretty good, better. But I think little things like that are important, just because it's you never know when someone new comes into town, and if they're riding on a really nice clean bike lane, like it definitely makes a mark in what your thoughts are. So that, and then
You can always encourage people to. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, you can come to me, but it's not my department, so I'm just passing it on. But there's the C-Click fix too that people can put that on, and then that way that gets routed to the appropriate department as well.
okay.
And
people
Catherine,
are in
where is
C-Click
that
Fix.
so we can put it in the minutes? C-Click Fix. Is it on the City of Athens website?
Yeah, maybe. I think there is, but I think maybe if let's just Google C-Click fix. I don't use it myself. I just get the C-Click fix-its.
And if I can piggyback off the bike lane thing, one of the bits of feedback that I had gotten from folks is, this might be more Parks and Rec than city, is if more maps along the bike path itself to let folks know, like, because when you're on the bike path itself, you know where that is, but you don't know, like, if you get off, is there a bike path like just beyond, right? You can't necessarily see, is it worth it to like bike out to the main road to see if that's actually a bike path? So if there is a way to, if they're not like permanent, like maps actually that are just standing on the, like on the bike path, or if there's a way to have that in the bike shops or in the community center itself to pick up, that's like, oh, here's like a trailhead that connects to these in-city bike lanes. Here's the closest like access points.
I know that is a bikeway committee, the Hockhocking Bikeway Committee topic, and that is definitely something that they work on, and I can for sure pass it along to them, because I've talked to them a couple times about, hey, that's something that we would like to do to try to figure out how to make it cohesive with our parks, since our parks come off the bike path.
Yeah, a master map like that would be really kind of
it would be
cool.
really cool. Yeah, I agree.
Also, like what you're saying too, like like maybe satellite maps, like in some places like that, which will show you like this is where you are.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was at Clear Creek recently, and I haven't been there a whole lot, and so it's really nice up on those trails because periodically it'll have a map of the whole trail system, show
Yep.
you where you are. And, I think that because that's actually, that would be important because there are a lot of traffic on the path that comes from out of town. People specifically come here to ride on the path, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody always realizes that. Though, so.
Here's the pixel, the C-click.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
know,
found it on the website.
Okay, great. I figured there's places.
But yeah, having a QR code somewhere along that just is like, here's where you are. If it connects to something like a Strava or right can be useful. I've been on trails like that, and where you know everyone has their phone on them, so it's a way to let you know how close you are to X.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to say this in case people are watching, because we do have some
Yeah.
people who do watch live. So you can sign up for the Nixle alerts, and you would text 45701 to 888-777, and then you can download the Athens, Ohio City Source app where you can report potholes, damaged street signs, and such. And it's also on the city website under the government channel, Report a Concern.
And it is helpful. I mean, that's how sometimes we find out
I didn't know
light
that
spatter in the
existed.
bathroom, or somebody has vandalized the bathroom, or there's a tree that has fallen in one of our parks, so it can be helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and people don't know exactly who to direct it to. It gets routed to the appropriate parties.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
you're
about
welcome.
that either, and I feel like that's like the biggest frustration is when you don't know even who to
Right,
tell
yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
And we can't have our eyes everywhere, so it's helpful.
yeah.
People let us know.
All right. Okay, and then one more, Sells Park Pond. Somebody had emailed me. They said they had some questions and comments about Sells Park Pond posts they saw on Facebook. I tried to get a hold of them and hadn't heard back. So.
So you don't know what questions
I
or
don't
comments?
know.
Okay.
I had anticipated making this that I would know. So, we'll just
We'll have the general updates I can give to you
yeah.
afterwards, or I could put it here if you want.
I think I saw several posts on Facebook, and I think the city did a great job responding to those to quell a lot of concerns that came out of them, and pretty timely. So, but
Thank you.
hopefully this person emailed you before those the responses were very informative, very respectful, and I think quelled a lot of those concerns. I've heard good things from people walking in the neighborhood and some of our neighbors, and friends up there. That bag is huge.
Yeah,
I know.
I was up there just the other day, and it's huge, but it's not in the
No,
way.
but
It's
I
not
was like,
but
how
it's,
long
but it's
is that
kind
going
of,
to take to evaporate?
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's a very cool process.
Science happening.
I know. I'm surprised no one's like jumped on it. Like
Yeah.
The temptation
Well,
is there.
it's real.
It looks very squishy.
It does. But
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I don't get on Facebook, so I have no idea what that entailed. But hopefully it got.
Oh yeah, people were
addressed
just curious about, why the bag, why not on, the side of the pond, or how about the critters, like, and so the process itself is definitely can't put the organic material right by the pond because it'll just go back in, so we had to put it in a bag, and we didn't haul it off because we'd have to pay a lot of money, and then that's not environmentally friendly because then you're paying a diesel truck to haul it off, and we can reuse the material, so storing it in the bag, and there is no definitive answer on how long it takes to dry out, other than it's still drying out. And
so
then
that
the
deflate?
critters.
Will it like deflate?
Yeah, well, it's deflated a lot
was
from
it?
from original,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, and now I think we're starting the slow where it kind of stops is where it's like, okay, well that's actually the muck now
Good.
But I know there were definitely concerns about the aquatic wildlife, which one of the reasons why we chose this route is so that we didn't have to drain the pond, kill everything, dig everything out. That's dredging. And this was a way that we could try to save as much aquatic wildlife as possible. And it's about a 2-inch hole that the vacuum hose, if you will, they were using. And then the scuba diver would use their other hand that was free and just kind of like filter through, because they couldn't get clods of anything or big chunks, because then it would mess up their pump. So they would try to filter through. So that's how they kept, like turtles. He was like, yeah, turtles did not get in there, because anything that was larger than anything that could fit between his fingers didn't make it through, except a bike chain got through there and it kind of messed up their pump for a minute. But yeah, I think those were kind of the questions about, why this way, what's it going to do? And we won't see a true visible impact for a little bit, but the health is already restoring. Good things are happening, but to the eye, it might not look like much still.
All right.
I have more updates, but that's in my updates.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, great. So looks like that puts us at
Put people first. Yeah. So I don't know if you all have been following along with the Ridges community development and what that means for my department. But basically, what has gone through council is an agreement, a purchase agreement. So the purchase isn't, if Councilmember Smake was here, he could probably correct me a little bit, but to the best of my ability to explain it is that basically a document went through council that said, yes, the city agrees to, whenever the community authority is ready to, but it's kind of like a putting in place here, provide this land, which is part of my land, but it's city land, but it's my park land, our department's park land, to give to the community authority for the development of the Ridges. For either a cash amount to be invested and used primarily to relocate a Put People First, or the university would give 3 times the amount of land to us. So so that was kind of that was council agreed on that, those being the terms. And so now it's under review, I think, at the state level. So nothing is happening as far as a final decision. So those are just the general terms that the city is okay with, I guess is the best way I could describe it. And so what I wanted to put forward is, since it takes Southside Park, so the Southside Shelter, Put People First, and then the ball field there, and there's a basketball court. Everybody know so it's basically taking all of that up to, and Put People First including. The shelter, I think, is not necessarily a part of that, but it's wiping out Put People First once everything is all agreed on. And then another little parcel of land over at the Richland Avenue playground area that doesn't have any playground stuff on it or anything like that. We just mow it. So that would all go. And so this is a good opportunity for the Recreation Advisory Board to provide feedback to the mayor of what you would like to see. Would you like to see more land for arts, parks, and recreation or city land? Or would you like to see a cash $200,000, I think is what it was, and we could put that towards relocating a Put People First somewhere else. And it's not, you don't have to make a decision now because council doesn't meet again until August, and I don't know when they will be picking back up the final terms. I don't know if it's a month from now or 2 months from now or more, but that's something that is worth the Recreation Advisory Board providing feedback to the mayor, because basically then the mayor, once everything is all ready to sign off, the mayor has to make his recommendations to council, and then council has to say yes or no.
I guess it would depend on who picks the land,
What
what the maintenance of the land is.
Yeah.
What's our capacity to do that?
Yeah.
What's the acreage that's in question? Roughly?
And so I thought once I'd already gotten here, I should have brought the document. I can't remember off the top of my head, and so I don't want to even put an acreage out there that's wrong.
Do we have any idea as to where that other
Where the other land would
the
come
other
from?
yeah, where
I
that
do not know.
No. Okay. And what has there been any thoughts as to relocation possibilities, like places?
For People First?
Okay.
Oh, yes. Is it on an old tennis court?
Yes!
That would be a great
It's like a game show. Guess which? The old tennis court. And mainly because right now the way it operates is Havhar operates it, and it's a standalone, but is also a part of us, and we don't have the capacity to be like giving out putters and balls and whatnot out at Southside Park, but at the community center we would. And so if it were to be, say, where the old tennis courts are, or current, but to be old and retired in the near future, then that would be a good opportunity for us to have, just like we have pickleball paddles and balls and basketballs, have some putters and balls
It's right by
available
the
for
bike
people.
path.
Yeah. I think the mayor mentioned a potential for kind of those fields in front of the library that we have, incorporated with the new fire station area.
Oh, behind it.
That's on the bike path too. I wouldn't want it to, if we were gonna continue to need to manage it, then the only place where we have pretty constant people to be able to help get people putters or balls or like have eyes on it and maintain it better would be near the community center. But that's also, we're open to any kind of ideas and suggestions that you all might have. And
Regardless of whether we decide like land versus the cash, it's moving somewhere, right? Like the existence of the Put People First is not contingent on like taking the cash, right? Like we're still moving it somewhere.
correct.
Okay.
It's still, I don't know that. That's a good question. It is just, it's going away, but I don't know the contingency part. Like
Okay.
yeah. That's a good question that we could get clarification on.
Yeah. That's a good, makes sense spot for sure, and proximity to the community center is pretty key there. I think that would be good, but yeah, Megan, that's a good point.
I'd hate to make a decision based on one way or the other, or feel like, if having more space, more green space, more land makes sense, but then the trade-off is losing that altogether. And or then is there room in next year budget to bring it back without having to rely on the like land versus cash deal for that.
And at one time, weren't those holes sponsored by businesses? Or are they still sponsored by businesses to redo them?
Yeah, I don't know, again, because that's through Havhar, so none of that comes through us, other than it's on our
Your
park
land,
space,
okay.
and, whenever somebody decides to have a rowdy night and goes and busting things up, we go fix it. Which happens. So I don't know if there's a continued sponsorship of funds that goes through Havhar or not. But so this could be a good opportunity of, what questions do you have? And then potentially I could find those answers to those questions and then get back to you all. And then it could be another discussion at the next advisory board meeting.
I think Megan's question is the
Yeah,
big
that's
question.
that's a good clarification question.
And then maybe some public feedback too, like is this something that everyone wants Parks and Rec to continue, like everyone wants to have a putt-putt course, right? Even if it changes, right, we lose the current iteration and we have to do something, say, kind of from scratch. Is that something that folks would want to see in the backyard of the community center or behind the library there, that would be like value added? Making sure that that's still a draw. I mean, most of the times that I've hiked or biked past, there seems to be people on the
Yeah.
course over
Yeah.
there. So, I mean, my guess
Yeah.
would be the answer is yes. But then kind of going from there.
Yeah. It also need to consider too, like, and I guess it's irregardless, it's not going to matter, but just having that over on that side of town, you know, I like the idea of it being on to the community center because there's that opportunity to have clubs or assistance. But then we're also losing something there, just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So potentially, is there a place on that side of town that we could?
or maybe not necessarily that, or maybe eventually there's something else that is over there. You know, at one point when we talked about tennis and pickleball, we had discussed satellite courts. You know, or just something, just so that, because there's a lot of people that live over off of Richland. That's probably a lot of the people that possibly played there. I don't know. And then one other thing to consider too, in that old tennis court area, just how the flooding would affect the putt setup. I mean, it might be okay mostly, but if it is okay, that's probably one of the few things that would be
Yeah.
a good addition there. So.
And I wonder too if, as you say, having it close to the community center means that you can provide, you know, eyes on it and services. But if there is enough sort of usage and having it, say, in a different location, is this an opportunity to add a part-time worker or to reach out to like folks, like the students who work with Ash and say, is there someone who wants experience managing a rec
Yeah,
space,
yeah.
so that even if they aren't right close by, is this like a job creation kind of opportunity if we're going to do something brand new or different with the putt space?
Yeah. Good thoughts.
Well, I think, yeah, definitely it's a good start, and find that information. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it some more.
Yeah, I can get you all answers and send it to you so that we can have a next level conversation at the
Alright.
next one.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next is the Richland Avenue Park.
Yeah.
Design ideas.
Yeah. So basically, we've been mulling over playgrounds and trying to figure out what makes the most sense and where to focus first. So we have the new to us playground that's going into West State Street Park, hopefully soon. And we know the community center playground needs work, but that needs more work than I think that we can handle right now because of a potential relocation need because of the trees and the root problems that are there. So we looked at Richland Avenue Park and the 2 to 5 year old play area. That is the kind of oldest in that sense, and it is not inclusive, and so it's attached to an inclusive playground area. And so what I did is I asked for a couple different companies, and so this is from one company because I liked what they provided better. For design options that stayed around $200,000. Because whenever you come with an inclusive surface, it comes with a lot of money, and so really we're paying a lot we would be paying a lot for a surface, but it's also that's really important but that's where I guess where the budget comes from, and so here you see the 84,000. That's just for the equipment itself, not installation and the surface, but. With installation and surface, he said these all stay around 200,000. So the surface for all three would be turf, and turf is static. It reduces static. So for people who have cochlear implants, then they might not have interference with their implants, and so that's kind of where it seems like we're moving in the universal and inclusive kind of design. So what we did is I asked them, have you ever done anything like get community input on the playgrounds? And they said yes. And he said Chillicothe just did this, where they had put out 3 or 4 designs to their community, and people would like them and then put comments below. And so I thought that would be a really good thing for us to do with our community. But I wanted to show you these designs first, and also kind of say the freestanding stuff can be changed. So that doesn't have to be anything like there's one little Dino DigiWriter thing. There could be 3 or 4 if that's something that we don't have to have another. What is it called on design 1, for instance? We don't have to have another OmniSpin. We have an OmniSpin at Highland Park. So do we need another one at Richland Avenue Park? So there's different things that we can do to try to build a little bit of the standalones. So design feature 1 has this Hedra Scout, and it's really hard to see what's inside of it, but there's a lot of different things inside of it. So it's a little bit more enclosed than some other playground pieces. But the panels can also be, so there's a bunch of panels that are sensory panels or visual art panels or musical panels, like things like that can be changed out in all 3 of the designs. So that's design 1. Design 2 is definitely, design 2 and 3 probably look a little bit more what you would expect of a playground. It's not futuristic like the Hedra Scout, but so you can kind of see the elements a little bit better. But again, in design 2, there are opportunities to change out the panels on the actual main structure to make it, some sort of musical thing or finger tracer or sound, some sort of sensory. There's also opportunities to change out any of the freestanding play. And then the same with design option 3. So I was kind of bringing this without bringing the whole playground catalog, but just to show you all what's out there, what's available. Do you have suggestions for things that do they have something like this? And is that something that we could add to a design before we put it out to the community for input? Or, maybe you think this is just a terrible idea.
No. What I was thinking, because when you think of family, I'm far removed from this anymore, but like families with kids, and you think, oh, well, when we were visiting in this community, they had this, and people are very visual folks. Is there a way that you can create, or one of the interns could create a survey taking special things out of that catalog, like the colored pictures that people will recognize, and then they can click vote in the communities of families that would use it to see maybe it's none of these things, or everybody wants more swings, or whatever it is. Is there a way to take some of those things that are within the budget you want to spend and provide some options?
Yeah, and I can see how.
So yeah.
Just a couple of the questions that came to the top of my head might be answered by having a more robust visual to see. Like, for example, so this is the 2 to 5 year old, like the goal is for 2 to 5 year olds, as kind of cool and futuristic. And I really do want to see what that first, I wish I had the first one here, but if it's super enclosed and I can't see my 2 to 5, I mean, I am permissive parenting and I want them to go off on their own, but it's like the other designs make it much easier for me to just stand back and visually track where they are, whereas this also might, if I want to play with them, how much, can conceivably a 40-something get into this and out of it without too much bodily harm.
Yeah. No, I think that you sound just like whenever I was talking to him, cause a parent too, where I was like, well, I don't know.
How many 2 to 5 year olds do you have in camp right now?
Well, we have 5. We don't do young
kids. But or is there a way, while we still have a little bit of pool time and time in the community center, where you might have a picture each week at the pool and buckets with tokens, and say which one's your favorite?
Yeah. Yeah.
and have the kids answer. Like to get,
Oh, yeah.
Once
I think
preschool
that would
starts,
be-
like the
yeah.
preschool starts, and once
Yeah.
Wee Wigglers like starts up again,
Yeah.
that would obviously be a place to put pictures.
But we
like
were
this.
hoping to try to hit some community events that were still happening this summer, and to try to start getting that target audience, and then the people who go there to that park, we can get a sign made with a QR code too. But yeah, that was one where I was kind of like, we're going to get on this fast, but
like thinking of what families might want,
Yeah.
like what Megan's saying. I wouldn't have thought
Yeah.
of that. I'd think, oh, kids might want to be in there because it's like a
Yeah.
fort, but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, you can't
I
see them.
second that.
yeah.
I think there's a great opportunity as well if you're going to put a new inclusive playground in to go, like, skipping over the agenda a little bit. There's the augmentative alternative communication, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a great opportunity that can be embedded in as a trial process where you brought a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And then them devices and things like that would be awesome in terms of trying to create the most inclusive playground experience, for families and children. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And Catherine had shared with me earlier about the static and the cochlear implants, and that's something that I had never heard of, thought of. But it might also be one of those where we could either post to social media, right? So the inevitable questions: why is this
Yeah.
turf? Why is it not
Yeah.
wood chips? Why is it not this? Like to sort of head that off and either a social media post like a "Did you know?"
PSA,
or even
yeah.
having
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
kind of permanent or semi-permanent at the playground itself. Like, did you know this is why we're doing this there? This was actually to piggyback off to make it accessible, but also inaccessible. I guess one of the other bits of feedback that I had received is that none of our playgrounds are fully fenced in. Like not the way that say like the small playground behind the community center.
Yeah.
There are gates on either side. And while most of them are sort of fenced in, that there aren't any where you kind of have a reliable gate where you could turn your back for a second. So I don't, again, within budget, if that's something that maybe trial run at this one or add into the design here is that, look, this would have a fence like with the Magna locks like they have at the top pool where you have to open it to get in and out. And then once you're in, you're in. In a way that's
Yeah.
a little more secure than some of the other like kind of gates / passive barriers that the other playgrounds have.
Little kiddos get to running.
Yeah. I just want to turn my back for a second. Just a second.
Not allowed.
No.
Not when you have kids. But yeah, that's a good point. Because Richland is it's partially fenced in, and
Yes.
then but the barrier is far away from the playground areas too. Well, awesome. I don't know if anybody has any, because this is something that we would want to move and get out before to start getting community input. So it sounds like you do have some. I do like the idea of trying to figure out how to offer up some pictures of the different standalone options so that it can be more of a, it doesn't have to just be these. But yeah, we're excited.
And I think that at some of the movies and stuff coming up, there will be
exactly.
families that have kids in that age
Yeah.
range for sure.
Yeah.
Or even people who are just out of it. Might be like, oh, I wish we had. Like, this is something we would.
Yeah.
Anytime we visited grandma's, we would have to go to the playground because.
Yeah, and I mean the swim lessons that are the current ones that are being offered in the next session have the levels that tadpole, the frog, or turtle tadpole, the level of
Yeah.
of this age group. So
Yeah.
those parents are going to be there dropping kids off.
Yeah.
That'd be a good
Nice.
place to.
Like it. I didn't think about swim lessons. Cool.
And then they don't have to talk about how cold the water is.
That's still a thing. Huh?
It's so refreshing.
It is.
I like it.
When the water gets too warm, then you start running into all sort of bacteria problems.
Oh, yes.
It's a fine line, people.
We also have more insulation than some of those kids. So little.
All right. So just one question. You said all three. It's roughly 200,000 when you have installation and then the
And the turf.
surface.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And it would be generally the same footprint. It might be a little bit more of what exists there, but not much.
So it seems like the Hedra Scout structure is
It's more than the other
pricey
one.
because there's a lot of other options on
Yeah.
this other. Okay. All right. Right, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And Ash's good point about the core communication boards. I think that'd be awesome if we can work that in. All right. So now to the continuing business. I went ahead and changed it just because I felt like old business was
I like continuing
better
business.
than-
Yeah.
had hoped to have the bylaws draft. We had a discussion last meeting about this, about the start dates. And it seemed like that was one thing that needed addressed from the draft. And I was looking through that, and what I noticed was that the only start dates I saw were for officer positions. Perhaps
I think all the positions started the end of January, right?
I don't see that. That's what.
Officially, that's when they're all supposed to
Okay,
be
so-
filled.
Maybe the language just
Remember-
needs to be clear
Yeah,
that it's
let me
not
pull it
just,
up.
it's not just your admin or
Um,
position.
Well, I guess. Okay, so.
It was different in the bylaws than it was on what was published on the website. I think is
Okay.
what we discovered.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
That's where it's not been included, I guess, in the bylaws, the draft.
And so the question was, I think last time was, is it that is Megan fulfilling a vacated,
Right.
or
that's
does
correct.
it start completely over? Or,
And,
yeah.
Yes, so we discussed why it made sense to keep them on vacated terms then plus, because especially now when we had so many new folks come all at once, you would end up with nearly a 6 out of 7 person brand new board if the language stayed that so that in the year when we were filling vacated terms, your term, you're fulfilling a vacated one, so it's staggered when it ends, and then your first full term would start after that. Because if everyone started a new term, then you'd have 6 people expiring at once.
Right.
That's why that
Yeah.
didn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And
Yeah.
that makes sense
Yeah.
to me as well, right?
So I think it needs to be reflected in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Right.
That's okay.
So that the renewals, the language would probably be something like staggered, that the terms expired, like there's a staggered expiration of terms, so that there's never more than 4 people leaving at once.
Yeah. Because I think in the current draft it is mentioned about fulfilling the term that was vacated and then starting.
Right, and but on the
But-
website, now I remember this, on the website, they have Megan's term as a new term.
Oh.
That's where the difference was, so it looked like everyone is expiring at the same time.
Okay.
When that would not be the case, because hers, the first term would expire sooner.
So maybe for that a little clarification. You think is that like add in?
We need to
something
clean
that
the language.
Yeah,
up.
I think both in the bylaws, the language should be as clear as it can be, but then also when you are like advertising for vacant positions, making it clear,
Yeah.
this is 3 months of a vacated, and then here's the date your 3 year, so to just so the person, I mean, I think I had brought up that question a couple months ago. It was just like, well, when do I have to leave, or how long can I stay, that kind of thing, just to make it clear both in officially the laws and then to whoever it is that's fulfilling the role.
So who updates that part of the website? Is it Patty?
I don't know, but you could definitely start with Patty. It might.
Okay.
She might. I mean, yeah.
But it
So if
sounds-
we
Yeah.
pull that information off and correct some of that so it can say partial, we can figure out who it needs to get so
Yeah,
that the
you
website's
start with
correct.
Patty for
Oh,
sure.
for the,
Okay.
yeah.
And then yeah, she needs to pass it on or needs more clarification before.
Because Stewart is in a partial term too, isn't he?
Yeah, I think most of
Everyone new
everyone is. They're
filling a partial and then starting the 3-year clock.
I'm the only one that's gonna make it through.
No, I'm in a whole term.
No, I mean like through my,
Oh, through your
like
whole
the
term.
full complete.
yeah, time flies. Okay, so, and you're talking about the website just adjusting like to reflect where we are
The
in.
true where
Okay.
where it truly is.
Because it sounds to me, and Alan did get back about that we will have to run, this will have to go through council. And so, they're not sessioning now, which is fine. So it gives us, it's not pressing, but I also want to get this to them soon. That way it won't be on our continuing business much longer, but that was so then on that seems to me like it should be addressed on the website where it's listing us to start at a specific date.
I think the term, I think where it's term ending, if it's a partial term, it should say partial after the date, and we need to confirm that because technically we'll have to look at the original ordinance, but usually when you fulfill a partial term, then you still get 2 full terms before you would have to vacate the
Right.
board if you wanted to stay that long, because the partial term doesn't count towards the maximum.
Correct.
So those should be marked. We'll have to look through the minutes, figure that out. That might take some digging.
Yeah.
Who's fulfilling what?
Well, I would like to, I guess what I need to have happen is I thought I pulled all the information that's out there about this in creating the draft. And
Well,
I don't recall seeing the part about the January 31st, which to me it makes more sense to have a random start dates as needed, just because.
Well, I think that's where the confusion with the language of partial is coming at,
Yeah.
because they did it that way. So my guess is, I am making a big assumption, but my guess is, for workload, you're running nominations once. The recommendations go to the mayor once. He recommends them to council once instead of every other month.
Yeah.
So the bulk of it goes, and then it's
Right.
you're expected to stay. And then when these other things happen, the partial terms, you just have to fill them as quickly as possible. But that's probably why it was
Yeah.
that way, is my guess.
Okay.
But I think the language in the bylaws, we can firm up and get the way it needs to be so it can be done. Figuring out the nuance of who's what is a totally
Right,
separate thing.
that's two
we
separate
can
things. As
figure
long as
that
the
out.
bylaws are clear about that partial terms don't count towards your full is January
Whatever.
31 to 31, and that's right calendar date, and that's a full term.
Yeah.
And then partial is whatever bits, like as long as the language is clear, then I think that
Yeah.
making sure the website reflects us, that feels a small bit.
And I would suggest, one small change I would suggest is, I think, the month of January, at the board meeting of January, so whatever that date is, if it's the third week of January, or what if we have a blizzard and it ends up being the next week, that it's starts at the January meeting and ends at the January
Other than
meeting,
a specific date.
other than a specific date.
That
Because
makes-
then the
that makes
person who
sense.
starts in January, they don't get to go to the January meeting because it's 2 weeks after.
Right, that makes sense to
So-
just say the January meeting.
Okay.
That's what I would suggest. I'm gonna write that down.
Well, I guess if we find whatever would be the earliest third Thursday, You just make it that date.
Well, I think you just say the scheduled January,
Okay.
to coincide with the scheduled January meeting. And then you never, because it's an ordinance, if you change the day or date, it would have to go back through approval. But language like that makes
Right.
sense, right?
Yeah.
So to reflect that the terms begin and
Okay.
date of the. Okay.
All right. Thank you. That's,
I will look through the minutes and figure out the term things, so you can just focus on getting that. You and Ash can get the document
okay.
ready, so we can just get that approved.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's go on to master plan questionnaire.
Well, since we have not everybody here, what I would like to ask, wait, is that, so when Megan and I met with Erin, we had a great meeting, and Erin was sourcing out, it's in the information I had sent, but Erin is sourcing out a tool, a survey tool that will work for this. And what we wanted to do is have a discussion with the whole board about having a 2-tiered survey that would go out. So basically, taking, temperature of the folks in the community and to get them primed to be engaged. So not hit them with a 20-question survey because it's too much. So at these remaining events to say, hey, can we ask you 3 questions? How many facilities do you think that Athens Parks and Rec manages? How many, and give them a multiple choice, and then pop up the educational piece. I think you can see a theme here. That or actually the Parks and Recs department consists of a footprint of this size, this many facilities, this many parks, this, that, the other thing. Do you have a facility you use all the time? Some basic questions, and would you like to be part of the conversation to get their information? Because it then gives us a second way to reach out. So it's not just using the QR codes at our parks and the passive engagement, like passive participation. Then we can directly solicit those folks back and say, hey, we're at the next step, and get that feedback. Feedback from them, and then that would be the more general information. I did speak to the individual at the College of Business. She herself or her students and her will digest all of the data and report that, give you a report back for that. So she's like, oh yeah, we'll do it. And she's like, you let me know. So that is already arranged.
Awesome.
So we just have to have the tool to gather it.
Okay.
And so I think that's hugely positive.
Yeah, that's exciting. Thank you.
That's hugely positive. And then part of that, the surveying was one part of that, but then having the small meetings to talk about different areas, making sure that we're saying, if we're talking about the skate park, hey, we are talking about the skate park. We want people who use the skate park, people who do, this is the target audience. So if you're coming here, we are not going to talk about putt-putt. We are not going to talk about tennis. We're not talking about playgrounds. We're talking about the skate park. Or if we're over at West State Street ball fields and that playground, this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So that we can keep the conversations from derailing.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Good stuff.
Good idea.
That was the bit of feedback that I had received at the West Side Community Association meeting, was that if someone from either the rec board or if you came to one of those association meetings, to make sure that it was like West Side Center, that was where you were, that was the meeting, and to make sure, and the folks that are there, obviously, they use other rec facilities, they have opinions about other places, but that at least was the feedback that I got, that they wanted to kind of be heard as West Side specific. And I'm sure that they're not alone in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
In wanting to make sure that
Does every area of our community have a neighborhood association? Have a neighborhood group?
Officially, I don't know.
I don't know. I just know of East Side,
Far East
Far
Side.
East Side, and West Side.
I know what's
Nina, and West Side.
and
So there's no South Side group.
There may be.
I thought there used to be.
If
West
there's
Side
a
is-
South
West Side,
Side
we-
group,
we
please
suspended
comment on
meetings
this
until
video.
September.
So, I think if Catherine Ann's available and Daniel is available and Megan's available, we could meet next week sometime.
Yes.
Are you back now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week would be best. But, so yes, we can do it next week. That would be best for.
Okay, I'm gonna send an email right now,
Good.
so I don't forget to do it in the morning.
Okay. 30 minutes left.
Right. That's sounds exciting too. So
It's exciting to make headway.
I like that idea though of gathering the information and then. All right. Adaptive sports and recreation catalog. I personally didn't have much for that today.
I don't have anything.
Anybody has? No? Okay. And then I had the core communication boards on again. And I didn't know if you had anything, Megan, to update on?
Just to update slightly that I had also met with the folks over at the public library at APL, and they're also really eager to put one in
Okay.
their play space,
Yeah.
and possibly in the interior as well. It's one of their core missions is literacy, and however we go about doing that. So they were they've taken kind of that and run with it. I've gotten just a handful of emails just letting me know that yeah, we're still doing it. It's on the it's on the board. And so that's something though that Catherine, if you do want to go forward, especially in this new design, you and I could meet separate.
I was going to say I would like to
we
see
could-
some like ideas
Yeah.
or because I've seen some, but I don't know if it's exactly what
Yeah,
you're talking
so
about.
we could do a separate meeting, and then as I mentioned, kind of when I first brought up the idea, Stephanie Bergeau out at Pivot Point Speech Therapy, who can connect us. She has offered her services both as a volunteer to help design the spaces, to connect us with the Southeastern Ohio rep for the company that does
Okay.
those boards,
Cool.
and also to do like staff in service or presentations. Like here's kind of best practices for that. So
Awesome.
we can connect.
Yes.
I can send an email out to you to do something kind of separate with that.
Perfect.
But it does seem like, particularly with the new design going in, that's a kind of a perfect place to start this idea and get some feedback and then go from there.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Great. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Catherine Ann. the
Woohoo!
staff.
Our updates. All right. I also revised some of my headings. But so I have some of the main project updates. The tennis courts themselves, they have been paved, and we are waiting on Total Tennis to apply this painted surface. And then once that goes on, then we can fence it in and we'll get our nets in, and we need to get a sidewalk to it. So we're just kind of in waiting mode right now. And then the new pickleball courts are in play. It is so exciting. It's hot out there, so people are typically playing in the mornings that I'm seeing. I'll get to work and they're already out there. I've seen all 4 courts in play. It's super excited. I talked to a community member who was also a friend, but I did not know they were going to be there. And the other morning, and she asked me, how much are you charging people to play out here? And I was like, it's free. She was like, what? So, and we also have paddles and balls inside that people can check out for free. So it's exciting to see them in play.
Have people been checking them out? Or is
I
there a
don't
sign
know
out
if
there
people
that says
have
that?
been. We updated our signage and we do have that on there now. But I mean, our signage is temporary, so it's small and you have to kind of go look at it. But I don't know. People seem to be
Figuring it out.
figuring it out. We are also waiting on a painted surface for that, and then once that's done, we can do fencing and seating and all of that stuff too. It's the surface, we were specifically told not to do any fencing until they are finished with the surface, because they need to make sure they have enough room to maneuver around. So that is why there is no fencing there. It will be good, because those do get nice and crowded whenever they're all four in play, but it's so exciting to see it play. I love this project, like, coming to completion. I've already talked about the Richland Avenue playground, so I won't talk about that. Did have a meeting with the National Fitness Campaign, and their goal is to get outdoor fitness courts. I say courts because that's what they're calling them, but they're concrete pads with outdoor fitness things on them. And their goal is to get them, and 1,000 of them out by some date, 2030 something or something like that. It's really cool. It's a really cool initiative, and they, will provide up to a $30,000 grant if you, move forward with them, and they have an app that you can use. So anyways, we met with them, and this again isn't something that we have to have like a definitive conversation, maybe more so what questions you have. But if we're going to meet with them again in a couple weeks, we were going to start gathering and reaching out to people, like, is this something that we would want to invest in as an outdoor fitness area that's free and open? Their idea is that it needs to be, to be able to get the $30,000 in funding to support it, you would need to be accessible from a pedestrian standpoint. So along the bike path, they would like it to be highly visible. You can also include, which is one of the things that's really cool about the design, is public art. So it's a court, and then there's a wall, and on that wall there's some of hoops and things you can do TRX stuff and whatnot with. And on the back of that wall you can have art on it, and they use a graffiti resistant laminate. So I'm imagining it's something like the traffic wraps, where we would provide them a design, and so that could even be something that AMAC could help with if we decided to move forward with something like this, and during and calling out for artists too. So there's a lot of cool things that you could have if we were to say, okay, we want an outdoor fitness space. Where would it be? I guess is the question. That would be input. Like, we do have an outdoor fitness space at West State Street Park right now. It is wood beams, and I know that was a partnership with ROTC as well. And so I don't know if it would be there, or would it be in the new fire station area in that space, since we're developing that area a little bit. Would it be?
Do they have
Somewhere
visuals?
else?
Like, if I were to Google National Fitness Campaign, do they
Yes.
have kind of what that
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
like and what
And I can always send it to you as well, because they sent me, which I'm assuming they would have on their website too, but like a 3-minute video about, but look up national. So that's just something that,
and this would be free and open, like a playground, like
exactly, yeah, no
playground.
charge. And what they do is that they have an app developed so you could scan the QR code, and it would tell you what workouts you could do there if you needed, if you wanted guidance. Yeah, national, here it is.
I'm on the website and it looks pretty cool. That.
Yeah, and they what they talked about was, because I said, well, okay, so it would still cost us, even if we got 30,000, it cost us 175, right? If we did with like the public art installation with it, which I think is really attractive to us, so we would do that for sure. How do we get that dollar amount down? And they said that what they do and provide is helping connect with sponsors, like that would make sense. So like Ohio Health or Holzer or something like that, to try to like solicit some sponsorship and some support at the local level for us if we were to want to move forward with them. So one of the questions I also had was, okay, well, what about the bidding process? Because that's something that we are beholden to. And so we're going to talk about that at our next meeting with the National Fitness Campaign people.
So this 175, does that include the site prep?
That includes the concrete pad installation. So to a degree, I think it does. Yeah. I think it depends on whether or not you have to demolish something. So if you're starting with a pretty flat surface already, then digging out and the gravel and all that
Is
would be
in this.
included in that, but beyond that, probably not. And this is the top level that I've added in there because I figured.
Ask for the moon.
Well, I mean, these projects just end up so. Don't get your hopes up at 130K. That's. And maybe it's something that we say, well, we would like an outdoor fitness area, but maybe it's not this. Maybe
So
there's a different solution.
Are these, just because we know how projects that are municipal projects go, like if it ended up being less than, can you add on to them after they're installed?
Yes.
So
they
like,
have,
can you like a year later spend another 25,000?
because they have something called so this is called the fitness studio. No, this is called the fitness court. They have a fitness studio. So you add on another concrete pad on the back with the sport court tiles, and then it's more of a group fitness area where you can have classes and things. But yeah, they have this that you could add on to it in that sense. But the court itself and like what they sell is one design, one thing. So it's not.
So you can't add equipment onto it?
No, it would
Okay.
have to be, if you wanted to add like another pad, then that would be.
Okay.
It's on the website, yeah. It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah. Something that we're exploring and something that you all could explore, and it also something that we could put out on the master plan stuff
Yeah.
too. No push. They just reached out to us and said,
That's
hey,
awesome.
you seem like you would be a community that might like this.
Does it make sense to replace what's on West State Park, or would this be a potential new location? I'm just thinking about
Yeah.
behind the community centre. It's getting a bit busy, and so potentially this would be a cool kind of replacement for that.
I
If
think it would
needs
make
replacing.
sense it's wood, right? So it does have to be replaced at some point. I think generally it's okay. It's in okay shape. But at some point it is going to need to be replaced.
The space,
And I
it's
think people
accessible,
use it.
People use
Yeah.
it. It's off the bike path. For me, it's the prime location.
It's shaded at times too, which is nice if you have something like this.
Would it be possible to have that near that space? And not remove what's already there? Just
Probably. The footprint isn't that big, and I've looked at that space a lot to try to figure out if we could
There's a
reconfigure
lot
fields.
of space down there, though.
I think the
Yeah.
question I'd have, if you put that next to it, then is that potentially kind of defeating the object of the community saying, well, we've already got a space for
Right.
outdoor fitness in one area, why
Right.
would you put a second kind of different
Right.
space in that same location? So I think it's right, for me it'd be rather replacing what's already there, or this would be in a different location.
Yeah.
Would you be concerned in that location, like, we ride by that often while ball games are going on, and that outdoor structure has become a jungle gym for a lot of kids who aren't playing ball. Would you be concerned then that people couldn't access it to work out because it would be being used not as it was intended?
I
Down at
did
that
not think
location?
about that at all. So
Like
Yeah.
because I don't ride down that. I've seen adults working out at that
Yeah.
sometimes, but
Yeah.
often on like a Thursday or Friday
Yeah.
evening, if we're riding that way,
Yeah.
it's little kids
Yeah.
climbing all over it. And would that be detrimental to
yeah,
this
Okay.
kind of investment?
I don't know.
I guess the argument to that is though, is like, is that not fitness for little kids? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, but what if they're not using it the way they're supposed to use it and it's not intended to be a jungle gym?
We are also
And you
getting
get
the,
hurt.
the new to you space, new to us space that might
Playground
encourage
area.
kids away from like the,
Oh,
the
true.
only monkey bars available are the ones at that
Yeah.
fitness
That-
space.
yeah,
If
Yeah.
we
maybe
and that's also maybe a case for there needing to be
an adult.
another new to us space put up that's more kid friendly, and then having this adult friendly kind of fitness space Not just because I live on the west side, but it would be cool to have something fitness based down more something
Yeah.
more fitness based down there, because we do have
Yeah,
the
who wants to climb that rope?
we do have no thank you, but we do have the rec centers on the east side,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
something, even if it's outdoor, on that side,
That does make a lot of sense.
it feels a nice balance
Yeah.
I think that's a cool
over there.
thing.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It would really elevate the visual profile down there too.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Awesome. All right, awesome. Okay, and then skate park repairs. We got a grant last year. We were awarded the Nature Works, and we don't have a tentative start date other than we're looking at late August for them to start
For the
repairing, and they're gonna repair the cradle and smooth out. There's a lip there in one area, and so they're gonna make it one flow, just like it is on the back side. So that'll be really exciting to get that done. And then the Sells Park muck removal, our dredging. I met with Councilmember Swank a few weeks ago to talk about, what input had he gotten from the east side about how we should coordinate community removal of the muck. And so we do have a plan in place. We just haven't gotten the finite details yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to have some set times where a city person is there to help load the material into someone's truck if they, have like a truck that they want. So like one loader full is what we kind of settled on. And then also a separate pile for people to come and do maybe bags or buckets or something that they have. And then have pre-registration times, basically, like you can sign up for a 20-minute slot so that on certain days, because whenever we were standing there just trying to talk about and think about how people could back in, and so we would have to close down the parking lot and have, okay, on this day, these are the time slots, and start getting people to,
Oh yeah, if there's cars in there, you'd have to like turn around and
Yeah.
back up the street.
yeah. So that's the part where we haven't honed in on specific days and times, but we will start pushing that information out so that we can start getting. And I do have some people who've reached out and said, please let me know whenever it's available. So I do know that if we can just start reaching and getting people and getting the information out there, they will sign up for a time and they will come gather
It'll go
the
faster than
organic
you think.
material. Yeah, we're excited. So that's kind of our general plan for getting that out of there. Okay, 10 minutes. The department happenings right now, we have our concert in the parks happening right now behind the community center, and it goes until 8 p.m. The weather good, and food vendors are out there. Go check it out. And then we'll have our last one on August 17th for the summer, and that will wrap up our concert in the park series, our second annual. It's really exciting that it isn't going to be an annual thing. And then we have our movies in the park. We have two more. July 28th, we have that one coming up, and then August 18th. And then something that we did a last minute, oh my gosh, this is a thing, we need to do it, National Night Out. And so this is a community and law enforcement building, positive relationship building opportunity, and it's a national initiative. And we came across it about a month ago, and I reached out to Chief Magruder, our new police chief, and said, hey, I know it's 2 months away. Do you think we could pull something off? And so he was really excited. So we got OUPD, Athens Police Department, Athens County Sheriff, and Ohio State Patrol, and Texas Roadhouse, all involved. And we're going to have a free night at the pool from 5 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, August 1st. And the law enforcement, different agencies are providing hot dogs and buns, and they're going to grill out, and soda and water. And then we're going to have different games. We're going to have a splash contest. We're going to have slide contest. It's going to be super exciting. And free Kona ice. So,
Nice.
yeah.
And
it's
all free for families.
free. F-R-E-E. Free.
That's great.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
So it'll be great. We're excited about that. And then hopefully we'll learn, and we'll, be able to we can pull off a big community event in 2 months, but it's nice whenever you have a little bit more time. So that's that. I don't really have anything other than like generally what's going on as far as swim lessons are happening. I did get a really nice phone call the other day, a message. I haven't returned it yet, from someone who is in the Silver Sneakers aquatics class right now, and she is very, very, very happy and loves it and is just super excited. And then I got to see it in action a couple times so far, and it's awesome to see that body of it's the leisure pool. So while the lap pool is being used in the morning, the leisure pool is being used, and it's awesome. We have our fitness classes, soccer, our arts. Okay, so we have our program specialist for arts programming and education. That position's open right now. I think the closing date for applications is August 2nd, I believe, because there is a test date that has to happen. This is a civil service position, so you have to take a test. And then once people take that test, I get a list of who passed, and that's the list I get to choose from to interview. So it is what it is. And so after August 4th, probably a week or so after that, I will get the test results and my list of people that I can interview from. And so hopefully, best case scenario, we could have somebody starting like mid-September as our arts program, programming and education program specialist. So in the meantime, Erin has been spending a lot of time at Arts West. We were dividing it up, and now she's pretty much going over there every afternoon and working on planning out our fall schedule of activities at Arts West. So that continues on. We have a building supervisor there now because it kind of made sense that we needed someone that serves as a building supervisor, just like they serve as one at the community center. We just didn't have one there in the past, and so it kind of made sense right now so that we could operate and have the building open. And they're also helping us just fine-tune some things that we needed to update over there. And so be on the lookout for our fall programming. Erin and I are having a great time dreaming and getting things.
Do you know how many people signed up for the test?
No, so basically it's the applicants, they get an email saying like a reminder of like, don't forget you have to come to the test.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically if they show up or not.
Okay.
They don't sign up.
So people have applied.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have like 17 or 18 applicants
good.
so far.
Oh, good.
I
Nice.
think I got a couple more while I was sitting here, so that it might be 17, 18 at this point. I think it was like 15 earlier today. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and it seems like a good pool. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, now you gotta jump through another hoop before I can reach out to you. So jump through those hoops, please. We're excited, and yeah. Okay, and trying to think if there's anything, because I know we only have a few minutes left, and I think everything else is kind of just there, moving along. So if you have any questions about any of the kind of continuing projects that I don't have specific updates on, or anything about our parks, let me know.
Are you looking at asphalt for that parking area or
No,
alternative?
it'd be
Okay.
gravel or something porous.
Yeah.
Because I know we've talked about, can't even think of the, like, not landscape fabric, but there's some sort of thing that you could put down that holds the ground better together, but grass can grow through. I forget what it's called,
Oh, yeah.
but
I saw this.
probably will just be gravel.
The reason I asked is I saw this. This kind of brings us back to Megan, what you had mentioned about the surface, the static reducing surface. I think that it's great to have things like that have information and to kind of be proactive versus someone to be like, well, like you're alluding to, why would you put that in there?
Right.
So kind of bringing it back, this parking area, I saw one recently where it was like these so it was gravel, this dugout, and it was in an area that drainage was kind of bad. So it's dug out, clay, base packed down, and then there was like a valve on one end, and so there's levels of gravel, and then there were tiles on top that went down, smaller gravel went into.
Oh,
And so they were able to actually control the flow of the water
okay.
because it was draining off this hill, and rather than pooling and flooding, it could hold so many thousand gallons,
Yeah.
and then they have a outlet where they can release it as
Oh,
they
that's
want.
cool.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of different neat things out there, but
Yeah, yeah.
and being down there by the river, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of crucial to limit the hard surfaces like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we definitely don't want that. We need water to be able to absorb down, move on out.
Yep. All right. Well,
I will not be here at the next meeting. I can just get Aaron. I'm going to be at the director's school. Just very excited about. It's going to be a week of me nerding out with other arts, parks, or just parks and recreation, or whatever they are called, directors or assistant directors, and learning and networking, and hopefully bringing back some really, really good tools.
Where's it at?
It's in Chicago, and it's a 2-year school. So I'll go this year and for a week, and then there's materials that you work through and whatnot for a year, and then you go for a second week. So next August, I'll do the same thing.
Wow.
I'm
That's
excited.
really
It's through
cool.
National Recreation Parks Association, so it's our, leading professional organization.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I look forward to September then to hear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know I'll come back jazzed up. Oh yeah.
all right. Only other thing is next meeting, August 17th. I think I got that right.
Here in Chambers.
Yep. In
Yeah.
council chambers.
I only asked, I shared
Yeah.
with Catherine earlier that the Athens Indy, their like weekly public meetings up to their little thing on Instagram today said that we were over at the community center. So I can always shoot them an Instagram message
Yeah.
and say, hey, just a quick reminder.
Oh, I forgot we do have our last nature hike at Sells Park this Saturday from 10 to noon.
Nice.
Free.
Cool.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:58.
All right.